But Katie, what about the burner? The burner accounts.
Kevin Durant makes a chilling confession about his burner accounts on IG Live. Everybody knows Kevin Durant uses burner accounts on social media. He has done it since at least 2017. He has admitted to it on camera.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I wanted to be stealth. I didn't want nobody to know.
But in February 2026, a new alleged burner was exposed during All-Star Weekend with messages that trashed his own teammates. In this video, I will break down everything that he said. The confession and the pattern. In October 2025, Kevin Durant sat down with Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor on the Pivot podcast. The conversation was wide-ranging, covering his new chapter with the Houston Rockets, the sacrifices of a 19-year career, his relationship with his parents, and what retirement might eventually look like. But the moment that ricocheted across every basketball corner of the internet came toward the end of the interview, when the conversation shifted to social media. The host asked Durant about his notorious habit of engaging with fans and critics online, and then they went one step further. They asked about the burner accounts.
But Katie, what about the burner? The burner accounts. Did you have the little button switching back and forth?
Durant did not dodge the question. He did not redirect to basketball. He did not pretend he did not understand what was being asked. He answered it plainly and without hesitation.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I wanted to be stealth. I didn't want nobody to know.
That line, "I want to be stealth," is the confession that gives this story its weight. He confirmed the accounts exist. He confirmed the purpose behind them. He confirmed that he was switching between profiles, deliberately hiding his identity so he could say things he did not want attached to his verified name.
I mean, that's really why you get a burner account.
The hosts pushed further, joking about who he would target from behind the anonymity of a fake handle, and Durant did not pull back. He leaned in.
I can see you cussing him out. I can see you cussing out, what's his name, Windhorse, all them, Sham Sharania.
The room erupted in laughter. Durant sat there with a grin. He did not deny any of it.
Why are you so worried about what the man living in his mama basement say about
I
you?
mean, he need to know too.
That is Kevin Durant on camera, explaining the philosophy behind his anonymous accounts. Reporters question him, fans question him, analysts question him. And in his mind, some of those people need to hear back from him directly. They just do not get to know it is him doing the talking. This conversation did not happen in a vacuum. Durant's history with burner accounts stretches back nearly a decade, and the pattern is well documented. In a 2019 interview on ESPN's The Boardroom, he laid out the original reasoning behind the accounts. He said he created them because he was not used to the intensity of public scrutiny that followed his 2016 move to the Golden State Warriors, a decision that made him one of the most criticized athletes in America. He said he wanted a space to talk to friends without outlets like Bleacher Report or Barstool pulling his words out of context. He described it as building a buffer between his public persona and his private thoughts. But the first time that buffer collapsed in public happened in September 2017. A fan on Twitter asked Durant why he left Oklahoma City beyond just chasing a championship. Durant responded, but he forgot to switch accounts. He posted from his verified handle, AKDTrey5, in the third person. The tweets read, he didn't like the organization or playing for Billy Donovan. His roster wasn't that good. It was just him and Russ. And imagine taking Russ off that team. See how bad they were. KD can't win a championship with those cats. The third person phrasing was a dead giveaway. He was supposed to be posing as a fan defending Kevin Durant. Instead, he posted it from Kevin Durant's own account. He deleted the tweets within minutes, but the screenshots had already spread across every sports media platform in existence. 2 days later, at a TechCrunch Disrupt event in San Francisco, Durant addressed the situation publicly. He called his actions childish and idiotic. He said he texted Billy Donovan to apologize personally. He said the mistake had wrecked him, that he had not slept or eaten for 2 days after it happened, and that it ranked among the worst moments of his career alongside the 2012 finals loss and the turmoil of his 2016 free agency decision. That 2017 incident should have been the end of it. It was not. By 2020, appearing on the Court podcast, Durant confirmed he still had active burner accounts. He said he had slipped up that one time, but made it clear he was not giving up the practice. He framed it as something he enjoyed, an outlet that let him voice opinions that players usually keep to themselves. So by the time he sat across from Clark, Crowder, and Taylor on the Pivot in October 2025, the admission was not breaking news. What was different this time was the absence of shame. In 2017, he apologized profusely and called himself an idiot. In 2019, he explained it defensively, framing it as a privacy issue. In 2020, he acknowledged it with a shrug, but in 2025, he owned it entirely. There was no apology, no regret, no performance of embarrassment announcement, he spoke about burner accounts the way someone talks about a morning routine, matter-of-factly, without justification. He uses them. He confronts people through them. He has no intention of stopping. Earlier in that same pivot conversation, Durant had spoken at length about how he approaches interaction online, providing additional context for why the anonymous accounts feel so natural to him. He describes social media engagement as a release mechanism, a way to prevent negative feelings from accumulating.
It's just a quick release of something that I may be feeling that I don't hold on to for too long. You know, I don't want to hold on to, like, yeah, I see these comments.
He talked about the evolution of how the public has received his online activity, noting that what once felt risky and controversial has gradually become accepted as part of who he is.
And I've realized over time that these interactions have brought me closer to the community, basketball community, and they understand what they're getting from me. And
that is the full picture of the confession. A man who uses burner accounts, who has been caught before, who has apologized before, who kept doing it anyway, and who now speaks about the practice without a trace of remorse. The timeline runs from 2017 to 2025 in a clean, unbroken line. And what came next, 4 months later, made it matter far more than anyone expected. The All-Star Weekend leaked during the February 2026 NBA All-Star Weekend. Screenshots from a private X group chat went viral across every social media platform that covers basketball. The messages were attributed to an account operating under the handle GetHigher77, and they contained scathing, unfiltered criticisms of Durant's current Houston Rockets teammates, his former Phoenix Suns colleagues, and several other prominent NBA figures stretching back across multiple stops in his career. The account had been created in 2021 and had reportedly been followed by people within Durant's known social circle. Most damning of all, the messages contained details and observations that only someone with intimate, first-hand knowledge of locker room dynamics and coaching schemes would reasonably possess. The alleged messages painted an extraordinarily detailed picture of frustration that simmered beneath the surface of Durant's public composure. On his Rockets teammate Alperen Şengün, the centerpiece of Houston's young core, the account reportedly wrote, "Coach called that play to pass to Alpi Lowell. I'ma turn the ball over with this team. IDGAF. Your franchise player can't shoot or defend. That's a way bigger issue than my turnovers. Remember, these guys are your future." The elongated spelling of "way" caught the attention of internet sleuths who had studied Durant's verified posting history and noticed a pattern of similar, exaggerated letter repetitions. But it was the substance, not the style, that truly detonated the story. On Jabari Smith Jr., the young forward Houston had selected with the 3rd overall pick in the 2022 draft. The language was blunter and more cutting. "I can't trust Jabari to make a fucking shot or get a stop." On his time with the Phoenix Suns, the account unleashed comparisons that drew gasps across basketball media. The experience of playing alongside all-star guard Devin Booker under head coach Frank Vogel was described in the starkest terms imaginable. Life with Devin Booker and Vogel, 2 dictators, Stalin and Hitler, Mussolini and Kim Jong-un. "The Suns are my team when we lose, and Book's team when we win." The messages did not stop at current and recent teammates. Reaching back to his Brooklyn Nets tenure, the account expressed a sentiment that startled anyone who remembered those dysfunction-plagued seasons. "I swear I miss Ben Simmons. At least that nigga would give me the ball." Other targets reportedly included Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, essentially a catalog of every major co-star, coach, and rival from Durant's 5 franchise career. The circumstantial evidence piled up rapidly. The account had posted a birthday greeting on September 29th, Durant's birthday. The speech patterns, the cadence of complaints, the first-person voice, it all felt hauntingly familiar to anyone who had followed Durant's online presence for years. The group chat itself was reportedly titled Hoops and Vibes, and a website called kdfiles.com was created specifically to track, archive, and catalog every leaked message. The story swallowed All-Star Weekend whole. Bill Simmons described the situation on his podcast as uncharted territory for the league, noting that the idea of a superstar anonymously denigrating his own current teammates represented something the NBA had never dealt with before. He flagged Durant's conspicuous phone activity during All-Star warm-ups as yet another piece of circumstantial evidence. Others in media, including agent Rich Paul and analyst Max Kellerman, urged caution, emphasizing that no concrete, irrefutable proof had yet linked the account directly to Durant. When the Rockets reconvened for their first practice after the break, Durant faced the press. His response was carefully constructed, firm enough to project control, vague enough to avoid a definitive statement.
I know you gotta ask these questions, but I'm not here to get into Twitter nonsense. I'm just here to focus on the season.
Twitter nonsense became the quote that headlined every article, but the sentence that followed carried far more significance.
My teammates know what it is. We've been locked in the whole season. We've been enjoyed our break, had a great practice today.
He did not say, "It's not me." He did not say, "Those aren't my words." He did not call the screenshots fabricated. He said, "My teammates know who it is," a statement that could mean they know it was not him, or could just as easily mean they know it was him and have already addressed it privately. The ambiguity felt intentional, calibrated by a man who has navigated these situations before. On NBA Today, the analysts approached the topic like they were handling something fragile. Iman Shumpert suggested the smartest path forward was to just let it go.
Yeah, I think he just, like he said, put it on the back burner. Let's finish out the rest of the season. I mean, it's entertainment for us, right?
He reminded the audience that the burner drama, no matter how entertaining, does not change what happens between the lines.
About it, but at the end of the day, he's still 7 feet with a jump shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's get to what's real and what's fake.
And then there was Kendrick Perkins. Perkins, who has publicly feuded with Durant over social media multiple times across several years, who has never once in his broadcasting career shied away from a hot take, Perkins took a pass.
For the first time in NBA Today history, I actually plead the fifth. Okay?
Oh, whoa, okay.
And I don't care to respond on this matter.
That was Kendrick Perkins, the same Perkins who has publicly feuded with Durant on multiple occasions, actively refusing to weigh in.
I'm trying to get my relationship back right with KD, so I don't care to respond about his alleged burner account.
That was perhaps the most revealing reaction of all. When the man who always has something to say decides he has nothing to say, it tells you everything about how seriously the people closest to this situation are taking it. When asked about navigating the situation, a member of the Rockets coaching staff offered carefully worded remarks about the team still finding its identity.
I think it's an opportunity for all of us to learn each other. I mean, it's a long season. We guys are, still understanding their games and still trying to put it together.
The leak saturated Reddit threads, podcast episodes, Instagram reels, and X timelines for days, but nobody with real authority ever confirmed the connection, and Durant gave just enough of a response to keep the speculation swirling without ever making a definitive admission. The timing of the leak amplified its impact exponentially. All-Star Weekend is the NBA's marquee showcase, a celebration of the league's best players, a networking hub for agents and executives, and the most heavily covered non-playoff event on the basketball calendar. To have the dominant storyline shift from dunks, three-point contests, and mid-season trades to leaked group chat messages allegedly written by one of the league's most iconic figures was a disruption nobody anticipated. Every press availability, every red carpet appearance, every podcast recording that weekend was colored by the shadow of Get Higher 77 and the question nobody could definitively answer: was it really Kevin Durant? Fans created memes at an industrial pace. Analysts debated authenticity on every platform. Former players picked sides. Jabari Smith Jr. clapped back on social media, with Houston fans rallying behind their young forward. And through all of it, Durant maintained his composure, neither confirming nor denying, choosing instead to let the ambiguity do the work that a denial never could. The debate, authentic or destructive? The fallout from the All-Star Weekend leak split the basketball world into two deeply entrenched camps, and the debate that followed revealed as much about the culture of modern sports fandom as it did about Kevin Durant himself. On one side stood those who viewed the messages, if they were authentic, as a devastating betrayal of locker room trust, the kind of quiet, corrosive sabotage that poisons a team's foundation from within and makes young players question whether the veteran brought in to lead them even respects their abilities. On the other side stood those who saw it as a 37-year-old competitor blowing off steam in what he believed was a private, sealed-off space. Something every athlete, coach, and executive in professional sports has done since the invention of group communication. Only now the walls have ears and the screenshots have wings. On Gil's Arena, Gilbert Arenas transformed the conversation into a full-scale forensic dissection of the evidence. His central argument was structural, rooted in the mechanics of how burner accounts actually function.
Gil, if true, how big of a deal is KD's Burnergate situation?
Stop.
I'm just telling you.
This ain't his account, man. talks in the first person on a burner account?
The panel countered immediately, pointing out that the messages were not public tweets, but entries in a private group chat, a fundamentally different context where the guard drops, the performance of anonymity fades, and someone who is comfortable, relaxed, or altered might slip into their natural first-person voice without even noticing.
Okay, so
and smoke too much weed, sitting there smoking a couple doobies, sitting there forget that he talking to a bunch of niggas he don't know.
Arenas then raised a structural question about the very architecture of the situation, one that nobody else in media had thought to ask publicly.
then why don't you mind the private group chat on a burner? Wouldn't I just be on my regular ass account in a private group chat?
That logic resonated. If the purpose of a burner is anonymity, and a private group chat is already hidden from the public, why would anyone layer anonymity on top of privacy? Why use a fake name in a room that is already locked? It was a fair point. But the counter-argument that followed hit with equal or greater force. The details embedded in those messages were not the observations of someone watching games from a couch, the specificity of the complaints, the internal knowledge about play calls, the intimate understanding of coaching decisions, the frustrations that mirrored real-time game situations only visible from the bench or the huddle, pointed unmistakably toward someone inside the organization. One of the panelists on Gil's Arena revealed that he had heard, through his own sources connected to the Houston Rockets, that Jabari Smith Jr. had been struggling with play recall, an insider detail that aligned perfectly with what the alleged burner account had written.
Like, man, you out here with a nigga who can't play. I would rather turn it over than pass it to you, bro.
Arenas still pushed back with conviction, constructing an alternative theory that attempted to account for all the evidence without implicating Durant. He argued that a sufficiently dedicated fan with a single source inside the organization could theoretically fabricate the entire thing, stitching together publicly available game observations with a few privately obtained insider tidbits to create a convincing, nearly airtight impersonation. He pointed to his own fan base as living proof that this kind of dedicated mimicry is not only possible, but common.
What you talking about? That is Brandon. We act like we don't know that's Brandon.
Right? You have a diehard fan to the point where if
The theory was creative, but it crumbled under the weight of the next observation from across the table.
even he won't talk in first person.
No.
Yeah, they need to pass me the ball there.
Even the most obsessive, knowledgeable, deeply embedded fan in the world would not write, "I'm going to turn the ball over with the team," because that sentence can only come from the mouth of someone who actually turns the ball over in NBA games. The insider language, the first-person frustration, the granular specificity of the complaints about teammates, coaches, and organizational dynamics, it all converged toward a single conclusion, even in the absence of a cryptographic proof linking the account to Durant's phone. The conversation stretched far beyond the question of authorship. The deeper, more consequential debate was about what this pattern, stretching across 9 years, 5 teams, and at least 2 confirmed incidents, means for Kevin Durant's legacy and the relationships he builds and burns at every stop along the way. Durant has played for the Seattle Supersonics, Oklahoma City Thunder, Golden State Warriors, Brooklyn Nets, Phoenix Suns, and Houston Rockets across 19 professional seasons. He has earned 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs, a regular season MVP, 4 scoring titles, and 15 All-Star selections. He has been traded from Brooklyn to Phoenix and from Phoenix to Houston, each departure leaving behind teammates and organizations he had publicly pledged his commitment to. And at every single stop, his social media activity, whether from his verified account or from suspected anonymous ones, has functioned as a parallel narrative running alongside the basketball, sometimes overshadowing it entirely. In 2021, the NBA fined him $50,000 for offensive language in private messages that were leaked by actor Michael Rappaport. In 2022, he was fined $15,000 for profanity in a post-game interview. Neither incident involved burner accounts directly, but both reinforced the broader perception that Durant's unfiltered side, the side he usually channels through anonymous handles, has a tendency to surface in ways he cannot fully control. On the pivot, Durant offered what amounted to a philosophical defense of his entire approach to social media engagement, framing it not as a weakness, but as a form of emotional hygiene. He described it as a quick release, a way to express something he was feeling in the moment and then move on, rather than letting frustration compound over time. He said these interactions had brought him closer to the basketball community, and that people now understood what to expect from him: honesty, even when it was uncomfortable. He went further, arguing that his willingness to engage, to respond, to push back, to meet criticism with counter-criticism, actually serves the league's interests by keeping fans emotionally invested in the players and the product. That argument may hold when the people on the receiving end are faceless Twitter critics who thrive on the attention. It becomes a fundamentally different proposition when the targets are your own teammates, the young players you are supposed to mentor, the franchise cornerstones you are supposed to elevate, the coaches you are supposed to trust. Houston entered the second half of the 2026 season, carrying championship-level aspirations, but operating with a roster that was still discovering how its pieces fit together. Fred VanVleet was battling injury issues. The young core of Şengün, Smith Jr., and Reed Shepherd needed time, patience, and trust to develop genuine chemistry alongside a veteran presence like Durant. If those leaked messages were authentic, then the player brought in to stabilize the franchise was privately describing his own team as shitty, his franchise center as unable to shoot or defend, and his young forward as someone he could not trust to make a play on either end of the floor. That is not a pressure valve. That is a fracture line. Durant's carefully worded post-practice response, "My teammates know who it is," hung in the air like a riddle designed to be interpreted in multiple directions simultaneously. It could mean his teammates know the account does not belong to him. It could mean they know it does, and they have already handled the situation behind closed doors. The ambiguity was surgical. Durant has navigated burner account controversies for the better part of a decade, and he has learned, through public humiliation in 2017, through media scrutiny in 2019, through quiet admission in 2020, and through candid confession in 2025, that a non-denial is far more useful than a lie. Whether the Get Higher 77 account belongs to Kevin Durant remains officially unconfirmed. No league investigation has been announced. No teammate has publicly corroborated or denied the connection. The screenshots sit in the public record alongside Durant's own words on the pivot, creating a timeline that is difficult to dismiss and impossible to prove. The irony running through this entire saga is that Durant has always prided himself on authenticity. On the pivot, he spoke at length about refusing to sugarcoat his experiences, about wanting to give aspiring players an honest look at professional life, about being real even when it made people uncomfortable. He spoke about his mother's sacrifices, his father's quiet presence, and the community in PG County that raised him. He talked about injuries, retirement fears, and the love of simply putting a ball through a hoop. He presented himself as someone who has nothing to hide. And yet the burner accounts tell a parallel story, one in which the most authentic version of Kevin Durant is the one nobody is supposed to know exists. The version that calls his franchise player unable to defend. The version that compares his former coach to a dictator. The version that says he would rather turn the ball over than pass it to his own teammate. If that version is real, then Durant's authenticity is not a single, unified thing. It is fractured, one face for the cameras, another for the anonymous group chats, and the truth somewhere in between. What is confirmed, without ambiguity, is this. Kevin Durant has admitted, repeatedly, voluntarily, and on camera, that he uses burner accounts on social media. He has explained the reasoning behind them. He has described the types of people he targets through them. He has characterized the practice as a tool for authenticity rather than a sign of insecurity. And when the latest alleged account was exposed in spectacular, viral fashion during the biggest showcase weekend of the NBA calendar, he did not call the screenshots fake. He did not say it was not him. He called it Twitter nonsense, told the media his teammates already knew the situation, and walked away to focus on the second half of the season. The basketball world can decide what to make of all that. Durant, as he has done at every stop across 5 franchises in 2 decades, will keep hooping. For more videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.